Remember Y2k? Let me start with that. Some people may not remember, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember they said that in Y2k, that the calendars was going to crash, everybody was going to lose all this money, and pretty much we were going to lose all of our currency based upon the calendar shifting over from 19 and going into 2000. And they called it Y2k, but why? And people say, well, it didn't happen and this and that. No, they doctored up the system. They doctored up the system when it turned into 2000. The year 2000, essentially what it is because what happened was that in the 1800s, there was technology that would have had us in the future. Essentially, we would, in this time, consider this technology futuristic, and it was based upon time. So when the 19th century happened, based upon a route of inflation is what it was, everything began to go up. The prices began to go up upon the 19th century because this represented a sort of a loan given to us in the 1800s from technology that was in the future. So then that jumps you into the year 2000. They was like saying that all of this stuff was going to happen and this and that and the third, and people think that it didn't, but it did because of the fact that the grid shifted. And the year 2000 represented the end of the cycle of the loan. To the 1900s represented coming up with currency, Social Security, all these different accounts came up in the 1900s. And the year 2000 represented the return, or kind of like if you wrote a check to someone or sent a flight, shipped out something to someone, what they received it or what it bounced. And a lot of the occultists believe that it bounced. And that's essentially what happened. So then that takes us into the year 2000, which leading up into even now represented a bounce check. It happened to kind of like correct time based upon astrology too, is when you get into it. So when you start looking at the stuff that happened in like 2001 and 9/11 and all of that, they weren't innocent. Those people that did that at all, like those people that conspired weren't innocent. They were caught up in time. And it's still going on right now, and we could possibly be trapped in time. And I'm putting this episode out based upon I guess you can kind of say like a research study. Myself, a couple of community activists was kind of like looking into essentially and dealing with time and dealing with inflation, and where the reason why the prices had to go up and everything became overpriced is because of inflation. So that's what you got to think about. This represented the patching up and the doctoring, essentially, of time. Because things were a lot cheaper, if you remember, when we were on a different standard of currency. And things started to go up. If you remember, you can get a house for, what, back in the day, you can get a house for, what, $1,000. In the 30s, a mansion. Whereas now it's $300,000 and $400,000. What is this? This is hyperinflation, the same house. Whereas $1,000 back then may be like almost $1 million now. Seriously though, when you start to study, this represented a correction. So now we're trapped in this pocket of time to where we have to get ourselves out, because it's kind of like the time became nothing in my research in 2000, really, and they want to keep that a secret. It act like it didn't crash, but it did, and it started over, and it went back into an older calendar that they didn't have any access to, that was linked into a sundial. And we went into the sun cycle at that time. It began to affect the way that the magnetism, the way that birds fly and things of that nature, and weather began to change, things of that nature based upon time. So that's where we're at. Just wanted to kind of put this out. Food for thought. We are essentially, when we're looking at your financial situation, we are trapped in of thinking based upon a pocket of time that wasn't solved, and a riddle that wasn't solved. And some people are starting over, and it's hard to start over, but if we don't start over, essentially what will happen is that we can be trapped in it for good. So stay vigilant.